Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. We've got a large number of registrants for this webinar. We're very excited about that. So we're going to give it just a few more seconds here. We've got a number of people still coming into the webinar room. So just hold tight for a moment. While you're waiting, if you would like to, use the chat feature. Let's test it out, make sure everything's working properly. Let us know where you're joining from today. We'd love to see where everyone is at. But again, we're going to get started here shortly. Keeping an eye on the entrance. And yeah, looks like we are coming to a little bit of a lull. So we'll go ahead and get started. So again, formal introduction and welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining our first webinar for 2022. My name is Anthony Salas. I am the Senior Manager of Events and Membership with Welcoming America. And again, I'm very thrilled to present this webinar to you titled Immigration Advocates Network, How to Support Citizenship in Your Community. Very quickly before we begin, if you're not familiar with Welcoming America, we are a national nonprofit nonpartisan organization. Our kind of core belief is that all people, including immigrants, are valued contributors and are vital to the success of our communities and our shared future. Our network is made up of over 300 local governments and nonprofits that are doing some really amazing work that creates environments where everyone is able to thrive. If you do want to learn more about our organization, I invite you to go to welcomingamerica.org and you can read more. Before we begin, just some quick housekeeping items. So we are recording this webinar and it will be made available to you once we are done, probably in the next couple of days. We'll send out a post-webinar email with the link to the recording, as well as any resources that are shared here. So look for that. In addition, if you are a member of the network, it will also be shared on the website in the resources area of our site there, so you can access it at any point there. And then in terms of questions, if you need any technical help or once we get into the presentation, if you have any content questions, use the chat feature. We're going to be keeping an eye on that, and we'll address questions at a formal point at the end of the presentation there. So we have, again, a great lineup of speakers. I'm very excited to have them joining us today. We have Rodrigo Camarena, who is the Director of Immigration Advocates Network. Sandra Sandoval, who is the Citizenship Works Program Manager with Immigration Advocates Network. Also being joined by Patricia Malone, who is the Associate Director of Immigration Advocates Network, and Michael McLean, who's the Director, Division of Immigrant Affairs with the Department of Health and Human Services from Jersey City, New Jersey, a member of our Welcoming Network. So we're excited to have a member joining us here today as well. So with that, I am excited to get us started and turn things over to Patricia to begin.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, audience, for your time today. I wanted to take a minute to let you know what we'll cover and what you can expect. So we'll start off with some immigration and tech trends, mixed in with how we support legal capacity and empowerment. And then we'll move on to benefits of citizenship briefly and talk more about the strategies, tools, and partnerships that we've created. And finally, we're most pleased to hear from our partners at Jersey City, New Jersey, to talk about their project and their experience using our tools, in particular Citizenship Works. We've got some time at the end to cover resources and questions. And with that, I'll hand it over to the Immigration Advocates Network Director, Rodrigo Camarena.
Thank you so much, Anthony, Welcoming America, everyone for joining us today. My name is Rodrigo Camarena. I'm the Director of the Immigration Advocates Network, and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the big picture trends that we're seeing in immigrant legal services and technology to sort of set the stage for the conversation that we're about to have. Next slide, please. Next. So as you can all imagine, more and more government processes are moving online, just like work and life is. The pandemic, of course, accelerated that trend, but it's a trend that we at EN, which is the Immigration Advocates Network, have been seeing for a long time and have been preparing for. Just a quick stat, most government IRS forms are now processed by TurboTax. And so just like we're seeing many of our renewal applications at the DMV or applications for other federal or state services move online, this trend is very much happening in immigration as well. Next slide. And it's a trend that we, as I mentioned, have been following. USCIS, which is the federal agency that handles a lot of the affirmative application benefits, so whether it's DACA, citizenship, asylum, etc., has a plan in place that's been stalled for some time to move more and more of its forms to online only. And in fact, in some cases, they've actually gotten rid of paper-based forms for advocates seeking to apply for a benefit. We've been following this trend really closely and have been advocating for the community of users that we serve to ensure that the government's process doesn't leave communities behind and that organizations like ours are prepared for this change. Next slide. And we've been doing some work on this, as I mentioned, for some time. In 2020, actually in 2019, we surveyed our community of over 6,000 advocates. And of those who responded, we learned that the majority of them, when we asked them about remote legal strategies or strategies to serve individuals with legal services in the way that we're doing business now, only an overwhelmingly number of them said they weren't ready for that transition and that they needed models and support to really make that change. You can think of your local social worker or case manager who's used to having clients and members come into their doors. They were handling paper-based forms and doing that work in person, and obviously that's now much more difficult. So we assume that some people have adapted to this change, but clearly there's a big gap when it comes to incorporating remote legal service strategies or strategies to serve people and process legal transactions in a remote or online way. And so that's what we mean when we say remote legal support. We mean online, virtual, whether that's through video chat or on shared documents online. This is a transition that a lot of our case manager members and communities haven't really been able to adapt to as quickly as we had hoped. Next slide. And so we've realized that the public needs new tools to keep up with this digitization. And when we say the public, we really mean immigrants themselves, especially low-income and vulnerable communities, and advocates, the community of advocates that we serve, whether that's pro bono attorneys or paralegals or advocates at community-based organizations. We need new tools and new responses so that the general public can engage in immigration legal work from a place that's safe, secure, and obviously keeping up to pace with changes in technology. Next slide. And so we've been building this process and we're building this infrastructure for some time, and I want to talk a little bit about that. Next. So as I mentioned, we are the Immigration Advocates Network. We are a program of a larger nonprofit called Pro Bono Net that's been really pioneering this space of legal technology from a nonprofit serving perspective. And so EN, as we're also called, the Immigration Advocates Network, was founded by national immigrant rights organizations that saw a need for technology to play an increasingly important role in the way that we served immigrant clients and served folks applying for citizenship, for residency, for asylum, for all the kinds of immigration relief that you can think of. So these are just a few of our partners. Next slide. And our mission is simple. We want to ensure that folks have access to their rights. We want to ensure that they have access to benefits. And we do that by collaborating with partners, nonprofit, public sector partners around the country and bringing our superpower, which is that convening and also that the technology that we provide and build. Next slide. And so here's one of our largest partners, the Catholic Legal Immigration Network, who we've identified a number of challenges with and partnered to create things like the largest national immigrant legal services directory, nonprofit legal services directory. Next slide. And so when we come together with partners, we don't just, put up a website. We create industrial strength tools. We create tools that are secure, easy to use, and safe, that hold up to the highest standards of security and safety, because many of our clients and people we work with are court systems, are state agencies, are individuals that need serious commercial software for large-scale use and volume. Next slide. And since 2008, we've built a network of over 10,000 advocates and assisted over 500,000 immigrants around this country. So that's something we're really proud of. And this is just a snippet of some of the things that we've built and tools we've created. Tools like Own the Dream and Pocket DACA, which we made with the national, with DACA advocates, Citizenship Works, which you'll hear more about, Immigration Law Help, which is the largest nonprofit legal services directory around the country, and more. And I'm just going to wrap, but next slide. These are just a few of our local and state partners. We have a really great relationship with a number of cities, and you'll be hearing more from the city of New Jersey momentarily. But we're based in New York and have a great relationship with the Office of New Americans here in New York State, as well as a number of national immigrant rights coalitions and service providers like the International Rescue Committee, Unidos US, and the New Americans Campaign, where we are a major partner. Next slide. And look, I'm not going to bore you with this, but people think very, very highly of us. We've been an integral part of the service delivery community for a long time, and we're really proud of that work. Next slide. And I think one thing that's critical and really important for us is that we understand that advocates are strapped for time, that agencies are strapped for time, that there aren't enough attorneys, there aren't enough paralegals to support everyone that needs help. So a very simple value proposition that we try to make sure that partners and our members know is that we're here to support you in doing the best work you can with the limited resources that you have. So that's why we really leverage technology. We leverage technology to do the things that we can't do easily, and to sort of distribute the workload, whether that's in finding a form and filling it out, or finding legal assistance and identifying if you're eligible for a form of relief. And thank you so much. I'm going to hand this back to Pat.
Great. Thank you, Rodrigo. On the next slide, we're going to take a couple of minutes to lay some foundational information, since my colleague Sandra Sandoval is going to be talking about Citizenship Works. We're not going to assume that everyone is familiar with the term, so bear with me to those of you who are. And we'll first of all define citizenship, which, as most of you know, is of course people who are born here, but it is also people who may acquire or derive citizenship through relationship to their parents or grandparents who may have status or claim to status, and then also people who naturalize, and that's what we talk about here when we talk about applying for citizenship, naturalizing. That one of the many requirements for eligibility includes a number of years as a green card holder or somebody who has legal permanent residency or lawful permanent residency. And many of you may have people in your community who are green card holders, and the next step for them, if they're interested and eligible, is to apply for citizenship. But before, in some cases, people become legal permanent residents through family petitions and applications. In other cases, people come to green card status through refugee status first, through other kinds of humanitarian visas or asylum. And you also may have heard of other kinds of immigration status in your community, like DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And those folks are not on a path towards citizenship. However, they are impacted by policies in our country and in your community as well. And we like to help you think about what resources you can offer people, not only who are green card holders and ready to apply for citizenship, but also who may be undocumented and need to understand more about their legal status and options. And with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Sandra.
Thank you, Pat. Hello, everyone. My name is Sandra, and I'd like to share more about how EN leverages technology to address these barriers of access to immigration help and resources that many immigrants face in our communities. And one of our flagship tools and that we've referred to before is Citizenshipworks. Next slide, please. So Citizenshipworks is an online tool that helps lawful permanent residents apply for citizenship and sort of set themselves on that path. With Citizenshipworks, LPRs can start their application and connect to a nonprofit legal service provider, a Citizenshipworks partner, for legal assistance, either free or low cost. And by doing so, by using Citizenshipworks and putting it out there in the world, we begin to address just some of these challenges to naturalization. One of them being this access to information and quality legal assistance. Next slide, please. And collectively, we work with our partners to help applicants, achieve this goal of becoming a citizen. With citizenship, there are many benefits. There's the benefit that protects, protection from deportation. There's family reunification. You can petition for a relative, or in many cases, if you're applying for citizenship, your child may derive that citizenship as well. You can travel more freely. You can vote, which is huge for our communities. And there's also benefits. Part of the benefits is you can now apply for government jobs. So there are lots of benefits to citizenship, and we want to make sure that we are reaching anyone and everyone who can apply. Next slide, please. So with Citizenshipworks, LPRs, as I mentioned, can start on their path online and with guidance. When they land on Citizenshipworks, Citizenshipworks will pre-screen them for basic eligibility. Like, do they meet just the basic requirements to begin applying? If so, they're able to create a free account and complete their N400. At that point, we're able to connect them to a Citizenshipworks partner for a legal consultation. Also, many times, applicants connect with our partners first and then start their path to citizenship on Citizenshipworks. So, the process is very flexible on how people can use the platform. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about our work and what we've been able to achieve and who we've been able to connect with. So in the past 5 to 6 years, we've been able to connect with over 600,000 individuals looking for naturalization information on our site. Whether it's, do I qualify? I'm ready to start my application, or I just want to learn a little bit more. We've helped screen over 80,000 potential applicants, 42,000 that have created an account to start their application. And so far, over 23,000 who have completed a fileable N400 and an additional 12,000 derivatives. So these are children whose parents are becoming citizens and perhaps meet the requirements of deriving that citizenship from them without sort of having to go through the process themselves. And, within this work, we've been able to work with our partners to develop different service delivery models, whether it's models that provide services in person and workshop, or completely remote. We've been able to help folks in all 50 states, including, Alaska, all the way to Hawaii, all the way to New York, Florida, and so forth. And we continue to share our practices with our partners so that they learn from each other and can continue to leverage Citizenship Works as a tool in their service delivery. Next slide, please. So why Citizenship Works? What makes the platform special, and why should you be using it? So a little bit about Citizenship Works. Again, a lot of our tools are meant to bring access and be easy to use for immigrants and for our partners. Citizenship Works is user-friendly and mobile responsive. So if you remember from that first few slides, you can either use it on your phone or on your computer. So this allows more folks to access to the resources and sites. The platform is available in plain language English, Spanish, and Chinese. So again, being able to understand the information and the questions that you will be answering as an applicant. As the applicant goes through the system and completes the form, the system is built to identify any incomplete questions and red flags. And if there are any of these issues, it will include a safeguard that we call a watermark. And this is only removable by attorneys or DOJ representatives at our partner organizations once they review that form with the applicant. And applicants are able to connect to one of our over 200 legal partners in our platform. So again, depending on where you are and what kind of services work best for you, there's definitely a Citizenship Works partner available to help. And we continue to partner with community organizations, libraries, schools, government agencies to help applicants, complete their connect to the resources that they need, and to complete their application safely and easily. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we have over 200 partners nationwide. This is really important in us being able to reach more applicants across all parts of the US and connect them to that quality legal help that they need, whether it's remote or before in person. We're able to connect folks to that help. Next slide, please. And Citizenship Works, I think a lot of what I've explained is perhaps how the user or the applicant would connect with Citizenship Works, but we build for our partners as well. So we understand that our partners are serving multiple applicants in many different ways. So with Citizenship Works, every partner gets their own custom page where they not only can add their own logos and contact information, but they're able to track and manage their applicants as they complete their forms. They're able to see their progress in real time at any time. And they're also able to communicate with clients both individually and in mass. So, if there is important information that needs to go out to clients about updates or, just any type of information, they can certainly do so through Citizenship Works. Next slide, please. And over this course of this period, we've been able to see partners leverage Citizenship Works in many ways. Prior to the pandemic, partners were using Citizenship Works in person. Either they had kiosks set up in their offices that help folks complete the application at their own pace, or most notably workshops, anything from a 25-person workshop to a 600-person workshop. Partners use Citizenship Works as a way to have applicants complete their form and then receive that legal assistance in person. So, again, there is a traditional workshops as well as something that partners themselves coined fast tracks, where folks would complete their information ahead of time and be at a workshop for 20, 30 minutes rather than multiple hours. And of course, with even before the pandemic, but now through the pandemic, partners have leveraged Citizenship Works to provide completely remote services. So again, folks using Citizenship Works start their application, connect to their partner, and everything happens online, which has always been certainly a goal, but the pandemic kind of forced partners to think of creative ways to reach their communities. Next slide, please. One of the partnerships I wanted to highlight is our partnership with the New York State Office for New Americans, and talk a little bit about, how as we work with this project, not only does it leverage technology, but it brings together, a set of partners who provide legal assistance and other community services to immigrant communities. Next slide, please. So since November 2012, we have partnered with the Office for the New York State Office for New Americans to support their work through their 27 opportunity centers. The EnTeam work to train the centers in how to use Citizenship Works and provide us application assistance to their clients. So the idea was at that time that, since the beginning, that applicants could connect to these opportunity centers who use Citizenship Works to complete their form and provide legal assistance. Next slide, please. And now, that project continues to grow. Not only are we leveraging sort of the opportunities through these centers to connect with applicants, but there are also other initiatives that connect with immigrant communities. So whether folks are reaching out to an ESOL center or a community navigator program or the ONA hotline, folks can now route those applicants to the appropriate assistance. So whether it's us working together with opportunity centers who already connect with immigrant communities to provide legal assistance, or one of these other projects, we're able to connect them to the help that they need. Next slide, please. And one of those ways is through what we would call sort of a virtual sort of opportunity center and office. We understand that there are many programs out there who perhaps don't have that legal capacity to within their office, right? But they have the need. They have folks who need application assistance. So the idea is for folks to be able to connect with that community partner who's going to help them start their own Citizenship Works account, and then connect that applicant to a designated legal service provider. So again, whether you're working directly with a partner already who's going to help you, or you're kind of starting off on your own and have questions and need assistance, at each point, there's an opportunity to connect, one, with Citizenship Works to complete your form, but two, to quality legal assistance to move forward. Next slide, please. Now, Citizenship Works isn't the only tool that Ian has created or works on to provide resources and assistance to our immigrant communities. And many of you might know Emmy as well. Next slide, please. Emmy was created for people within our community who may find themselves undocumented. The idea is that with Emmy, we're able to help folks understand their legal options and rights and connect them to the appropriate nonprofit legal organization to better understand their case and what options they have. Next slide, please. With Emmy, someone can come onto the site, complete a set of general questions, and the system will then let them know, what may be their options and how best to connect to a nonprofit legal service provider. Next slide, please. And here's just a couple examples of what our eligibility screening screens for. But again, definitely take a look at the site. It's filled with resources, and most importantly, it's in language as well. It's both in English and Spanish, so that folks can, again, understand, the resources that are being presented to them and the options as well. Next slide, please. So if you would like to learn more, if you'd like to learn specifically how your project can leverage, Citizenship Works and or Emmy, please feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to set up a call to learn more about your project, your goals, your needs, and how best we can help you reach your communities using technology. Pat, I'll send it right over to you.
Great. Thank you, Sandra. So I want to point out for the audience a few key resources that can help you in maybe understanding more about the populations in your community. And some of this you may already have, but in both the readytostay.org website, there is research publication and a webinar that talks about who might be eligible for legalization, a path towards citizenship if we get reform. And there is fantastic data on the CMSNY, Center for Migration Studies, New York site. You can enter your county or your region and find out who is eligible to naturalize and who is eligible for some of the current and pending legalization proposals. And then finally, I know that communities are mindful of whether their folks will be in trouble if they apply for a certain kind of immigration status and or receive public benefits. How does one affect the other? So we have an excellent and helpful interview that we designed with our partners in California on a website called keepyourbenefits.org. It has an interview where a person can enter their status, their immigration status, ask or answer a few questions, and get a result that guides them on how or whether an immigration application will affect their eligibility for public benefits, or receipt of public benefits will affect their eligibility for an immigration application. And with that, we're so pleased to turn the presentation over to our colleague, Mike McLean, who will talk about how you use these tools, how they've used these tools to help the folks in their community.
Thank you so much. My name is Mike McLean. I'm the Division Director for Immigrant Affairs at the City of Jersey City. We are so happy to be here presenting to the Welcoming American Network, along with our partners, Immigration Advocates Network. We are really excited to help our residents become citizens, and we are really, really excited to share with all of you, our Jersey City partners, our New Jersey partners, and all of the other partners as part of this network, how we've been using Citizenship Works to help people become citizens. So just want to go over a quick overview of Jersey City. If you can go to the next slide, we've got some interesting stats here. We've been declared the most diverse city in the nation. I know a lot of cities declare this as well. A couple of different metrics have told us that. We have a very high percentage of foreign-born residents, about 42%, just under 42%, which is surprisingly a shade over New York City and Los Angeles. And we're very, very proud that we have a 77% naturalization rate. And I should say, more than anything else, our division very uniquely is part of city government, but we are at the Department of Health and Human Services. So that places immigration services and integration as part of a public health strategy. So we see citizenship as a way of engaging immigrant communities, developing trust, providing a very, very important legal service that we can then leverage to make immigrants and immigrant communities partners in public health for many other initiatives like public benefits and, of course, vaccinations and other disease prevention issues and many other social indicators of health. So let's talk about how we are seeing barriers to citizenship. If you can go to the next slide, I think you'll see that a lot of your organizations who are dealing with immigrants in several different capacities, maybe refugee resettlement, maybe cultural organizations, maybe folks working with DACA recipients, they all have these questions. Well, how do I get a certain status and how do I get to citizenship? And for those who do have their lawful permanent resident cards for 5 years, or if they have it for 3 years while being married to a U.S. citizen, they can start to consider citizenship. But fear is a major factor. high costs for applications are a major factor. The threat of fraud is a major barrier to citizenship. The graphic that you see on your screen is just a small collection of, some of the items that applicants need to have, right? And they need somebody to walk them through it. In Jersey City, as in many other communities across the country, we've seen that there's a lack of low-cost providers, and there's a lack of DOJ accredited representatives who you heard some of the previous presenters mention. Notario fraud, if you haven't already heard about this, is an important issue facing many, many different immigrant groups. And this is basically unlicensed providers that use the Spanish word for notary, which in Latin America really connotes the authority to perform many legal processes and services. However, in the United States, a notary, as we know, really is not an attorney. So it's that sort of semantical question that causes a lot of people to trust service providers who are not licensed or authorized. So let's talk a little bit more, if we can go to this next slide, about this distinction between who really can help citizenship applicants. And I saw in the chat a lot of questions related to this. And this certainly is an area where many integration and community engagement organizations and cities would be well served to have a good understanding of. Citizenship applications, as with many other immigration applications, are a legal process. So if you are an unaccredited preparer or someone who's not an attorney, you need to be very, very careful to avoid unauthorized practice of law. What that really means is that all you can do to help someone with their application is read the application questions to them, read the instructions, and record their answers. Your hands are really tied from explaining requirements, interpreting the law, and giving any kind of advice. So in a way, the complexity of the system has made application completion a difficult process whereby you really need to trust the experts. And the experts, as you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, when it comes to putting pen to paper, are accredited representatives who have an accreditation from the Department of Justice or licensed attorneys who are barred in the state where they practice. So they can practice immigration law. They can explain the requirements, the complexities behind them. They can give legal advice. They can prepare extra explanations that go with an application as needed. And they can actually respond to requests from the federal government as they are presented to the applicants. This is a very difficult situation whereby lay people have very little ability to help citizenship applicants. And this is where I kind of want to give just a small pitch. When the Division of Immigrant Affairs was created in Jersey City, we took a look at this barrier and said, well, we need to help citizenship applicants in the most meaningful and responsible way possible, which is why we applied to become a recognized and accredited organization. We are very, very proud to be the only municipal health department in the country to be recognized by the Department of Justice and have accredited representatives on staff. So when it comes to helping people with citizenship applications, we're very proud that we're a city government and we're also the experts recognized by the federal government who can help. But let's talk about where we were before we were accredited and where many of your organizations are now not being recognized and accredited. Let's take a look at this next slide. And I think this demonstrates where Citizenship Works fits right in the middle between non-accredited preparers and the legal experts. Citizenship Works is this online tool that gives step-by-step submission of information through question-by-question series. It allows applicants to upload their documents. And as you saw the other presenters describe, there are guardrails. If there is an ineligibility or something that could create a legal red flag, the system does that quite literally. It pops up a red flag and says, this is something that is concerning. after an applicant enters the information through the Citizenship Works portal, then a legal expert on the other end can do a virtual review. It's free, it's safe, it's private. And in this way, our program is able to engage citizenship applicants in more than one way, not just in person, but through the online portal. And it's where unaccredited organizations have the ability to engage citizenship applications in a meaningful and, most importantly, a safe way, whereby they're not preparing an application that is set up for denial, nor are they preparing an application that could result in some very negative consequences. So if we take a look at this last slide, I just want to point out what we've been seeing demonstrated with our previous presenters and what many organizations in the Welcoming America Network are doing, many organizations in Jersey City are doing, is that they are adding Citizenship Works to their integration efforts and their community outreach. So Citizenship Works can be part of libraries, social media campaigns. If you're doing ESL classes or civics classes, Citizenship Works is a perfect combination to this. It is also great to combine with USCIS naturalization engagements. That is to say, invite USCIS to your community so that they can interact with applicants, so that we can dispel this fear of the federal government. And even Citizenship Works can be partnered with local pro bono legal services. So licensed attorneys and accredited representatives can use a local Citizenship Works portal to access the applications and communicate with the applicants. So I'm going to go to our very last slide, where you can get our contact information if you want to ask us how it's worked for us. But I just want to end with this final message, and that is all of us at Jersey City Division of Immigrant Affairs and at similar city organizations and similarly dedicated nonprofit organizations throughout the region and country believe very strongly that immigrants make our communities better. And that is certainly the case in a place like Jersey City, where almost close to half of our residents were born in foreign countries, right? In this case, citizenship is really an incredible goal. And to help somebody cross that line after a very long journey, perhaps of coming here as a refugee or an asylee and adjusting status to get their green card, after coming as a family petition beneficiary, after having waited sometimes a decade or more to immigrate to the United States, citizenship really is one of the most meaningful ways that we can help new residents become fully fledged, newly naturalized citizens and have all of the benefits that you heard described at the top of this presentation. We are indebted to the Immigration Advocates Network for providing this free service to our residents here in Jersey City. And we are so happy to share how it's worked with the Welcoming America Network members, because if we work together, if we share best practices, I think we're going to see in our respective localities, it's going to be helping immigrants improve their lives and improve the lives of the native born. So with that, I would love to answer questions. And I thank everyone in the Welcoming America Network, and especially the Immigration Advocates Network, for all of these incredible tools. I hope that you can use them in your area and they can benefit the immigrant constituents that you're serving. Thank you for everything everyone on this call is doing. We are honored to be sharing this information with you.
Awesome. Mike, thank you so much. Awesome way to kind of wrap up the presentation here before we move into Q&A. And we've got quite a few questions coming in. Couple of quick notes to everyone before we move into that. One, you've seen a lot of great resources and links shared, as well as the contact information for all of our speakers. I'm going to make sure all of that is included as part of the post-webinar email that we'll send out. So you'll have all of that information handy. in one place there. So we're going to go ahead and move into Q&A now. Keep your questions coming. We will get to as many as time allows us here. I think, Pat, you've got some lined up here, so I'm going to turn those over to you, and we can jump right in.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Mike. I just want to note for the record that we are not paying Mike to say these wonderful things about us. And we can say very much the same about him, because he's made such a success of this program and built really a dream program that I think is a wonderful example for our partners and other communities. So can you talk a little bit, Mike, about your vetting process, like how you had confidence in, or trust that Citizenship Works was a reputable program, that it could do the job, and then also about how you grew your program? Like, what if an organization or municipality has limited staff? How much do they need? How much time or staff do they need to at least begin to work with Citizenship Works and build something like what you've done?
Thanks, Patricia. Yeah, I think that this is the first question really has to do with, really speaks to the capacity building for all organizations that are working with immigrants. You really need to depend on the experts. And that's what we did here at Jersey City. We reached out to the top legal networks, top pro bono legal networks in the country. Many of the partners who are working with Ian are among that group, specifically the Catholic Legal Immigration Network based in Maryland, and also the ILRC based in California. These legal networks really have top immigration attorneys that aren't just working on very, very sensitive and much needed cases, but they're sharing that information with other organizations that don't have legal staff. So developing those capacities really requires to be part of those networks and being engaged with those. And if anybody was seeking to really kind of take that to its next level and apply for and receive recognition and accreditation from the Department of Justice, I would absolutely recommend CLINIC, the Catholic Legal Immigration Network. They have an amazing affiliate program that provides access to training and provides technical assistance for organizations seeking DOJ recognition and accreditation, and also training that would be useful for organizations who are seeking to develop non-legal capacities that would prime them for using Citizenship Works. So your second question is, how did we develop our program to start using Citizenship Works? Quite frankly, we trusted the experts, and we saw that Citizenship Works is being used by some of the top pro bono legal agencies in our region, primarily the New Americans Campaign New York site. The Naleo Education Fund was using them. CLINIC was part of CLINIC trainings. It's not just an online component. It's not just a fillable form online. It brings with it the muscle of these legal agencies behind it. So I would say if there are organizations out there who are looking to use Citizenship Works, they would be well served to do some basic trainings on immigration legal services so that they know what Citizenship Works does. That might not make them fully authorized to review an application. However, it would make them able to present it to their constituents in a way that has a basic knowledge of what the citizenship process is, perhaps some of the basic pieces of it, so that they know the significance of not giving legal advice when you're not supposed to, so that they know the significance of the accredited rep or the attorney on the other end of the platform. So I think that that's really important, and we learned that in very important ways, and we depended on the legal experts to do that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mike. Appreciate your responding to those. We have so many questions coming in here, which is amazing. I want to kind of try to combine a couple that have come in that I've seen, specifically around like the experiences, and Sandra, maybe you can kind of kick this one off in terms of Citizenship Works and experiences with libraries, any libraries that maybe have used it, how they've used it, and what that has been like, and any kind of library partners that, you know, others are able kind of to look at that maybe they can, you know, get in touch with and kind of see what the experience has been like.
Sure, happy to share. Some of our partnerships have included, I think one of our longest standing partnership is with the Brooklyn Public Library. So that partnership started years ago, you know, prior to the pandemic and everything being remote. However, we used to host a monthly workshop, and the library would promote the services, help with registration, or help, you know, do outreach, register folks for the workshop, and then provide the space and technology. So, you know, they would provide a computer lab, you know, printing, copying, separate spaces so folks could have consultations with their attorneys. And we would show up, you know, because we were New York based, but provide some technical assistance. And then our partners, we would have a legal partner in that area, sort of alternate every month, but they would come in and do the legal support. So again, you know, and sometimes it was several partners. So some partners helped on the front end, helping applicants set up their accounts, completing their application. And then we had our legal partner who did all of the legal review and assistance. And the library was really supportive, and again, doing promotion, registering folks from the community or from their ESOL courses for the workshop and sort of to begin that process. We also worked with the San Francisco Public Library in a similar model, also a workshop-based model, monthly or bi-monthly, with the sort of same, you know, same resources, same sort of roles and responsibilities, where the library continued to promote, register folks, and provide that space and technology, which I know sometimes some partners may not have that technology or as many computers or laptops. So the library did a really good job of providing those resources. And with much like the Brooklyn Public Library, at the San Francisco Public Library, a partner would take the lead in providing the legal assistance and coordinating the workshop, and then partner with pro bono lawyers from a couple of big law firms in the area to kind of help with the legal capacity. So certainly, if you are a library or you know, are connected to your library, we'd be happy to chat and let you know, like, this is what works. This is what partners have shared, and understanding that, you know, things are a little bit more remote the time being for most of our library partners. But certainly, you know, I know folks have continued to leverage Citizenship Works and connect community members to Citizenship Works partners to complete their application.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandra. Appreciate that. That was one that came up on several questions, so I appreciate you getting to that one. There was another question that came in, and I believe one of you may have answered it in the chat, but I do want to make sure that it's brought to everyone's attention, because I think it's a little timely, and something that I think is always a concern, is if you can talk a little bit more about how the client information is protected from hacking, you know, the sensitive information, and how, you know, this isn't in any way made available to other organizations like ICE or anything of that sort. So if you can just kind of elaborate a little bit on that. I'll open it up to whoever wants to respond there.
Sure, I'm happy to hop in. So, you know, our data is encrypted on both ends. We work with you know, major hosting provider, and you know, there's password protection on all sides. The data is encrypted from the moment we send it to when it's received, and we've never been subpoenaed for any of that information in our 10-year history. And if we ever do, we have plenty of pro bono legal partners to help us fight that. So it's certainly a consideration, but one that we've never had to address, because at the end of the day, we're not doing anything that is of risk. And one other thing to add is that the Emmy tool, the tool that Sandra shared earlier, can be accessed completely anonymously. So you never have to provide any personally identifying information as you're filling out the questionnaire to help determine whether you're eligible for a form of relief. The only moment where you give your name or contact information is in the event that you want to be contacted by a legal service provider. But you can also reach out to them directly using a search function that Emmy has on the site. I don't know if Pat or Sandra want to add anything to the security question.
Sure. I think we really strive to keep applicant data secure. We know that it is a tool that is, in some instances, can be used by applicants just directly, right? DIY, as we call them. Maybe they're sort of starting their application first. So we definitely try to, maintain that security, even to the extent if someone decides to work with a partner, right? There are steps confirming that folks want to share that information or connect with that partner. So we do try, applicants have that agency and ownership over their data and how, they share it, even just for legal assistance. So we do, again, we know the sensitivity of the information and do our best to keep that secure and safe.
Pat, I'm going to turn to you for a moment. I think there may have been one or two questions that that you've marked, and give you a chance to ask those if you'd like.
Sure. So a member of the audience wants to know what steps we would recommend for a municipality to assist residents who need help applying for asylum. Now, asylum is I think, a trickier application process. It depends on a lot of narrative and storytelling, and there's complexities around the timing of the application or how long it's been since the person came into the United States. So I would recommend that you refer people to immi.org, IMMI.org, where they can take a self-screening interview, and it would flag for them asylum as a possibility if they indicate that they're afraid to return to their country. And it also includes plain language results and plain language articles about asylum and who qualifies and what timelines and deadlines that they need to be aware of. I think it would be hard for a municipality to offer more than that without bringing on legal staff and fully exploring confidentiality and other issues that you may have as a government employee, providing that kind of assistance. But I hope that you find immi.org helpful. And it also has a directory of national, nonprofit, and local organizations that provide legal services. And we have a project to match people up, to match their Emmy results with a partner organization that's taking on those kinds of clients. And I think you'll see and hear more about that in the next year or two as we conduct outreach and bring on more partners.
Thank you for addressing that one, Pat. Appreciate it. Quick question that came in, I think, a little earlier in the discussion. I know you had noted that the program's available in English, Spanish, and Chinese. Is there any plan to expand on languages at some point?
Sorry, Rodrigo, I saw you nodding your head. Yes, we're always looking to expand into other languages. And, as you work with your communities, it's good to know what are the languages that, are most needed. As you mentioned, it is available English, Spanish, and Chinese. And, I think for us, it's a process of really thinking through not just providing that information on the site in language, but the whole experience, right? So from what you read on the website to the customer support that you receive from us on our end. So yes, please, if you have feedback on what languages you think Citizenship Works or Emmy should move into next, please email us. We're always looking for that feedback.
Perfect. Thank you. I think language access is another really big topic in need. So I appreciate you all being open to that. Rodrigo, I just want to acknowledge too, I think you just entered in the chat your directory of legal services. I just want to point that out to everyone because I think there were questions around how people can get access to like pro bono attorneys and law firms. So I'm assuming that kind of will apply to those questions as well. So thank you for entering that one. Another question that came in earlier is around the forms being screened by accredited representatives or immigration lawyers prior to being submitted to USCIS. The question being, just because if anything isn't completed or if anything's left out, that may cause it to be rejected or denied in some way. So can you just elaborate or talk a little bit more about what that process looks like?
Sure. I'm actually going to throw this to Sandra. I think she has a really good answer.
Yeah, sorry. Unmuting myself here. So, when applicants work with our partners, they're already directly connected to that organization. Our partners will then review the applications or, connect with those applicants directly before the applicant mails out their form to USCIS. In instances where applicants are coming onto our site, on their own before connecting to a partner, as we mentioned, there are lots of red flags that may go off on Citizenship Works as someone is completing their application. Rarely does someone kind of go through the entire form without some sort of issue, be it a legal issue or an issue of not completing the entire form. Rare that happens, but we do connect them with a legal service provider who is providing some assistance, mostly remotely, so that they get that review before they submit their form to USCIS. We want folks, as much as, we want folks who get through their form and complete it on their own. We know it is a complicated process, and we want folks to submit the best form that they can. So, we try to make sure that everyone connects to a partner prior to submitting that application.
And Anthony, I just want to add that, there are a lot of for-profit companies that are doing this kind of work, as well as, the government, and to a degree, USCIS offers this kind of assistance. We exist because we're here to advocate and fight for the interests of the immigrant. And, we understand that the advocate or lawyer is strapped for time, needs help often from paralegals. So we've built in safeguards every step of the way to ensure that the final product is always the best product or the best form that legal permanent resident can submit. So I think we mentioned the red flags, but also there's a do not file watermark that can only be removed by an attorney or an accredited rep as another assurance. And that's something that we're proud of because it's something that we've instituted as an affirmative way of protecting and advocating for the immigrants' interests.
Excellent. Sorry, I'm still looking at questions as they're coming in, trying to keep it moving here.
I've got one, Anthony.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, sure. So this question is for Sandra. And how do people, how do you set up a new partner? How do you work with them, and what is the process for answering their questions and helping them understand more about what we can offer?
Sure. So as a next step for folks who are, interested in learning more about Citizenship Works, definitely contact me directly. There's also a help button at the bottom of every page of Citizenship Works, and that help button will connect you to either myself or my colleague, America, who is on the line. The first thing we'll do is set up a call with you to understand more about your program. Are you a nonprofit legal service provider? Do you have legal capacity DOJ accredited reps or lawyers who are sort of ready to use Citizenship Works to fill out forms, or are you a community partner who does not have legal capacity but is engaging with immigrants every day who need this assistance? So we try to learn more about your project, your goals, and how we can best build a program around that. So again, that first call to learn more, we'll do a demo of Citizenship Works, how an applicant would use it, how a partner uses it, and then of course provide additional training to your staff once we know what those next steps are. So it is a bit of a multi-step process, but again, it's to learn more about your organization and what's sort of that best fit for you and your program. And maybe it's, again, if you're a nonprofit legal service provider, it's a little bit more direct. If you are a community partner or working with other community partners in your area, if you're a government agency who has community partners and nonprofit legal service providers, we try to build a program that best fits you, your needs, and your community needs. So make sure to contact us directly and we can start those conversations.
Awesome. And Rodrigo just entered a link to learn more about the partnerships there. So everyone make note of that. Again, all of this, we're going to pull all these resources together and we'll be sharing that out as part of the follow-up. I think we are at a good stopping point. We've pretty much gone through, I believe, all the questions. Oh, wait, one more that looks like it's probably a good one. We're going to throw this one out there. I think this might be a good one. Do you have geographical limitations? Are you able to do a presentation to a network of community partners?
Yes, we have no limitations. We serve the entire country, which is the best thing about this. We would be happy to talk to community partners. We really want to we created this tool for the public. We created it for cities and municipalities that are managing limited resources and want to help their constituents, as well as nonprofit legal service providers and public interest firms that rely on volunteer support or paralegal support to do their work. So please reach out. We'll provide our information again in the chat, but we want to work with you and, like Sandra mentioned, bring the tool to you in the way that makes sense for you, whether you're working with a outside pro bono firm or a nonprofit legal service provider, or whether you're a city that wants to bring this, or state, like we do with the state of New York, that wants to bring this to your state itself, your state agency, to support individuals that are coming in for services. So please reach out. It's something that we've built for the public and for the public interest, and so we really want to work with you and talk to as many of you as we can, so that we can really support as many people as we can.
Thanks, Rodrigo. Couple of other good ones that just came in, so we're going to throw those. Both of these actually around kind of charges or pricing. So can you talk about whether for individuals who are looking for legal review, is there any kind of a fee incurred there? Also for any organizations that are looking to become partners, is there any kind of a fee schedule there as well?
Sure. So for folks who are looking for legal review, if there's an applicant who's completed their form and needs to move on to that next step before submitting their form, we are happy to be able to connect them to free legal consultations and resources. A couple of our partners are funded to provide that assistance. So a lot of the legal consultations are free, no cost. Again, if it's an individual program, we understand that, there are costs to our legal programs. So if you, for example, are working directly with your clients and there is a fee, that is certainly up to you as an organization to determine that with your client. But again, if it's someone who's come to our site, we have been able to connect them to free legal review as part of a couple of programs that we're a part of. So, I guess it depends, but yes, there is free legal support for folks using our site. And then for our partners, we do have some subscription levels. So again, depending on the size of your program, how many folks you are serving, your reach, how many applications are coming through, we sort of build a fee-for-service subscription model for individual partners who are looking to use Citizenship Works.
And just to add, we are a nonprofit, we are a mission-based organization, and so we're truly here to provide this service at whatever the price point or budget, depending on the organization. So please reach out. We're here to help.
Yeah, and I'd like to add on that note that there are private for-profit sites that do similar work. And I like to think the difference is that we are interested in quality and we're very concerned about protecting applicants, making sure it's safe for them to apply. And we value that over numbers above all, right? So in that way, we distinguish ourselves from some of the for-profit enterprises that have auto-filled, applications, but not that network of nonprofit support.
Well, I know Mike had to drop early. He had a previous commitment, so definitely are appreciative of him. But I just want to thank the three of you as well, Pat, Sandra, and Rodrigo. This has been, again, a great way to start the new year with our first webinar of the year. I think there's a lot of excitement from the audience here around what you all are making available. I think it's coming at a great time for our country and, with the work that's being done out there. So thank you so much for this. And, we look forward to continuing the conversation and, seeing a lot more interaction here. So we really appreciate that. We are going to go ahead and start wrapping up here, but appreciate all of you, our attendees, for keeping on with us. I think you've seen everyone sharing their contact info. Here is ours. If you've got any questions about this webinar or anything related to other events that we've got coming up or we've hosted from Welcoming America, reach out to me at events@welcomingamerica.org, and I'll certainly follow up with you. I also want to share social media and website information for both Immigration Advocates Network and Welcoming America. And again, we'll make sure all of this is included as part of the follow-up. So you can follow us on social and all the different channels that are available there. Again, thank you all so much for joining us for this very important webinar today. Appreciate all of our speakers and all of you in the audience for taking the time to join us. We appreciate it. Have a great afternoon and a great rest of your week. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.